who here has had experiences code switching? Because that's the thing that mixed people do. And I see a hand raised and I will totally get to it, but I just want to also name that code switching. I just want to shout out mixed people because I know it's really hard. And I know that for me, and I can only speak from the I once again, that code switching has been something that I've had to do because of the way that spaces are led and run. And so I just want to shout out other mixed people because I know that code switching is laborious and emotionally exhausting. And I want to give everyone the space to drop in the chat, like what code switching means to them and ways that they've experienced code switching. I saw a hand. Whose hand was it? I think it was Bianca.
Yeah.
Did you have a hand?
Yeah, sorry, it was me. I was kind of raising my hand that I have experienced code switching, but I guess to kind of share my example, I feel like I grew up between like a suburb and a private school, and then I moved to like the hood and went to public school, and then I went to like a prestigious East Coast school, and so I feel like there was so much code switching, and then all those experiences, and then sometimes I felt like, you know, in certain, maybe some spaces I come off too black or too radical, and sometimes I felt by mixed people that I feel like maybe I don't come off mixed enough, right? And so I feel like it's been a struggle for me of being too much of one thing and not being enough of this, and kind of going in between. Yeah, so I don't know, that's just my experience.
No, and that's such a valid experience. And I'm sure there's so many people on Zoom right now who are like, yep, yes, exactly. I felt exactly that. And even this exactly in corporate America has been for me generally code switching. Absolutely. And I was going to talk about that too. It's like the experience of needing to, I'm going to use the word censor yourself because different ways of, I don't know, linguistics are viewed as not professional or whatever, and just like how hard that is and how laborious it is. And so I just want to shout out that experience and say, like, I see you. Obviously, I can only relate to a certain level because I live in my mixed body and I've had certain experiences that I know people aren't shared with for me, but I just want to say that I see you all. And where I've kind of come to code switching, and I hope that we can drop positives about this great superpower that we have too, is just that like code switching, if I look at it in a positive lens, right? If I'm like, okay, this is a really hard thing that I have to do, but like, what are the positives? What possibly could be a good experience from this is that I've just been able to, there's a crow, that I've just been able to relate to more people. And that I've been able to be able to match people's energies in a good way for a positive use. Like outside of this space, I mentor women, and to be able to say like, oh, I see people's energies and I'm going to bring myself down or raise myself up to match them has been a positive thing that I've gotten out of it. And to be able to make so many people feel comfortable, because I've had to navigate different spaces and like figure out where to fit in. It's allowed me to let so many other people feel comfortable as well. So I want everyone, because I know code switching is such a laborious thing, to drop in the chat, like if they found any positives from it, or if they feel like they have any examples of how it's a superpower. I invite you all to drop that into the chat because, you know, I want to shout out like this experience, and I want to say that I see you, but also I want to remind people that like, yes, being mixed is hard, but there's also like, it's a superpower because we get to, I don't know, just show up as mediators and as people who understand lots of different perspectives. And I think that's amazing.
I know that I also want to honor the comment that came earlier about how code switching is a term that came from African American vernacular English. Like has a very specific history and a very specific context. And I, for one, just want to name that I'm not trying to come at this conversation from a place of like scooting over that or, ignoring where it actually comes from. But I tend to be a very literal person. It's the German in me, like the code of how human beings communicate. And that can be a cultural code. It can be a dialect. It can be a physical mannerism. That's a code. Like those codes that we have, we can switch them or shift them in order to be more acceptable or just more be able to communicate more easily in different spaces. And so in that sense, a lot of people, have to develop that skill because they understand that the way that they communicate in one space, they're not going to be able to actually complete the communication loop in another space in that same way. So they have to change their code in order to be able to be heard, in order to be able to actually, bring a message and have that message be received.
Yeah, I just think it's unfortunate though that like we have to do the work of, changing how we speak, and I just don't feel like that's work that we should have to do, and it can be taxing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I even acknowledge that, like, for me, that looks very different than other people in the space. And like, I can only empathize because, right, I don't have similar experiences to everyone in this space. And I just wanted to, and this is just a great example of like taking space and allowing other people to share their experiences because they don't mirror mine, right? And so thank you just so much for sharing that sentiment, because that's so valid.